Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And I am back with another Are You In? Now tonight, I'm taking a look at the Silversun Pickups' newest album entitled Widow's Weeds. Silversun Pickups is an alt-rock, indie rock band from Los Angeles, California. Members including Brian Albert on lead vocals and guitar, Nikki Moninger on bass guitar and backing vocals, Chris Guanlao on drums and percussion, and Joe Lester on keyboards, samples, sound manipulation, and occasional guitar. Their previous albums include Carnivus in 2006, Swoon in 2009, Neck of the Woods in 2012, and Better Nature in 2015. Now, to me, this is a very underrated band in the indie rock scene. People probably know the songs Lazy Eye and Panic Switch, though you might not know them by name. Honestly, I remember hearing Lazy Eye around the first time they came out, and what struck me was the arrangement itself. The song being very minimal at the beginning, very soft, very sweet, with this pretty clean guitar part that eventually got into a heavier sound. And then eventually got into a little bit more shoegazy approach at the end with the guitar solos. What also stood out was Brian Albert's singing. It's kind of nasally and up in the higher range in terms of a singer. I will say at first, I didn't really appreciate the song. It wasn't until I heard Panic Switch, and then it wasn't until I heard There's No Secrets This Year, where I started getting an appreciation for this band and started looking to their other stuff. Neck of the Woods was one of my favorite albums of 2012, easily in my top 25. Better Nature might be even a little bit better. I don't have a ranking of 2015 albums, but I'm pretty sure I would have it in my top 25 as well. I enjoy their arrangements and their slow build ideas, their mixture of indie with shoegaze. You kind of hear a little bit of Smashing Pumpkins in there as well, but I think they do enough and in interesting ways to stand out from other bands of their ilk. So, of course, when I heard that they were dropping a new album, my curiosity piqued. I was super excited. So much that I didn't even want to listen to the single to boost up my ideas or make myself anxious. And honestly, listening to it a couple times now, I probably should have listened to the single. This isn't a bad album, but comparatively to the last two albums, this doesn't stand out. There are some strengths on this album. I do enjoy both Songbirds and We Are Chameleons, basically because they are more energetic songs and ones that kind of take from approaches of Panic Switch. However, I do think they do enough also to stand out on this album. Songbirds having a very interesting acoustic approach on the verses with a very low bass line, but then eventually getting into a more electric guitar chorus, and then getting to this bridge part that is both beautiful and harmonious. The chorus itself is one of the best ones on the album, and I love the shuffle that the drums have on this song. We Are Chameleons also feels a little bit similar. It does have a lot of energy and is some of the more powerful vocals from Brian on this album. What it does suffer from, though, is these weird parts where the energy kind of just gets let go before coming back in, as well as this kind of out of place finger-picked guitar outro with like some echoing guitar. It just doesn't match up to what the rest of this song was. However, I do enjoy the drumming on this one, especially when you get to Looking Through the Window. I love the idea of changing up the beat a little bit on that particular part. The drumming on here, nothing bad against it. I think Chris Guanlao is one of the better indie rock drummers out there, and he's shown it throughout previous albums as well as on this one. I just think that there aren't as many times for him to shine through on this album. And that is honestly the two most energetic songs on this album. The rest of this, you're getting a mixture of like slower songs and softer songs. Freakazoid has a little bit of a funk to it, and the drums on here really good, but it's more laid back than the previous two songs. What makes it stand out to me are the melody parts, especially when you get to the breathe section of the melody, because it works some interesting half-step approaches in the melody that make it stand out, as well as the rhythmic nature of the chorus is really, really fun. It feels kind of shoegazy, definitely more than the first two songs. Widow's Weeds is one of the more soft songs on the album, though it doesn't start off soft. It starts off with some heavier guitar before getting into this more alt-country song. But it does stand out as one of the better songs. Both Brian and Nikki sing on this song, and they sound beautiful on it. A song talking about widow's weeds, which are basically the garment that widows wear during a funeral and after to show that they have been widowed. And it seems like the song in and of itself is talking about from both her side and from the lover that she had lost. And kind of like both of them talking to each other, which I think is a beautiful sentiment. There's also a nice little color change in the bridge, and the drums play this like pseudo 6/8 feel, which gives a little bit more activity. Bag of Bones, I can't figure out exactly what song it reminds me of, but there's definitely a song off of Neck of the Woods that it sounds very similar to. It's still solid though. The chorus is very solid. Again, it works with some 7th and 9th ideas in the melody. The pre-chorus though is kind of annoying. It's really cool to have this little break idea, but Brian's vocals just seem a little bit weak when you get to those break sections. However, I really do enjoy the bass and drum parts because they are very active on here. Rounding out like the better songs on this album, Straw Man is the shortest song on this album, clocking at just 3 minutes, which goes to show you just how long some of these songs do get. The strings are annoying at the beginning, but the rest of the song is really fun. The fingerpicked idea guitar verses lay into this more heavy and rhythmic second verse, and then eventually does get into a lot more activity when you get into the bridge. It's just a fun song talking about a straw man argument and how no one really likes that. Speaking about bad string parts though, we get to Simpatico, which has a very questionable string section at the beginning, which almost ruins the song. It is one of the weaker songs. I don't necessarily like the melody of most of the song. It doesn't start getting good until halfway through, and this is where one of the bigger problems of this album does lie in. The next few songs, it doesn't matter why, Neon Wound and Don't Know Yet, all of them don't get better until like later in the song. It Doesn't Matter Why is one other very active song, but it seems like the whole entire arrangement is very vanilla. Like there's nothing there. I like the really active idea at the beginning in the intro with either a bass guitar or a very low acoustic guitar, but the problem after that is that it just gets to this very staccato guitar and bass line of just really simplistic notes. So much so that you don't really hear much else. It is the single off the album, and I'm glad I didn't listen to it first because I probably would have been angry. Yes, it does get better on at the end of the song, but you've already listened to 3 minutes of it, and then you get to the better section where Brian actually starts singing in a much more effective way rather than just having this like sing-songy way. Neon Moon also suffers from the same thing. The only reason why I have it a little bit lower is because it's a little bit slower, and it's the first song on the album, and it's 5 minutes long, and you're not getting anything interesting until like halfway through. And then Don't Know Yet is the blandest song on this album easily. The electronic part and the verses aren't interesting, and then the chorus part is very bland as well. All in all, I think the problem with this album comes from either arrangements that don't get interesting until halfway through, which I've never really had that problem when it came to an album before from Silversun Pickups. And some of the songs on the last two albums do get a little bit long, but I think each of them do enough, interestingly, to whet your appetite for when that payoff does come. This doesn't do that. The other problem is that the songs that are good are either a little bit too short, or they mimic songs from previous albums. There's enough decent to warrant a full playthrough only because all these songs are interspersed throughout the album. But I wouldn't say that this is a great album by them. Out of the last 3 albums I listened to them, this is easily the worst. Going into lyrics though, this is a band that like their arrangements being multi-layered and everything like that. Their lyrics also get kind of multi-layered as well. A lot of metaphors, a lot of imagery, making for not necessarily the easiest songs to interpret. I, of course, have my own interpretations, and I've already talked about one. There is a couple others that I would like to throw out. One being Freakazoid, talking about being a leader for others, someone to look up to, but not being able to give other people that same vulnerability when they are in need of help. We Are Chameleons, talking about changing one's skin to better fit the situation at hand, which might be talking about the current political climate. Simpatico, talking about two close friends who want to take their friendship to the next level but are afraid to ruin their relationship. Songbirds, talking about someone enamored by the beauty and by the talent of one other person and wants to tell them that, and for them to believe in this rather than them always thinking that they don't have what it takes to be good. Taking that from a songbird idea, I think that's pretty cool. And my favorite idea on here, other than Widow's Weeds, is Bag of Bones, which is talking about a night of passion between two people, but like realizing that what we are, how we are, we think that we are more than we are in terms of, because we can feel and we can speak and we can empathize, but when it boils down to it, we are also just bag of bones, a meat suit for what we are, which I think is an interesting approach of looking at a love song. Overall, some interesting lyrics, but again, very metaphorical at times, and not always the most straightforward lyrics, just like very much the arrangements of this album. And unfortunately, I don't think enough of them pack the punch of previous albums. If you were to get into an album of theirs, this wouldn't be the one that I would start with. I think that there are enough songs that I could pick and choose. Songbirds, We Are Chameleons, Freakazoid, Widow's Weeds, Bag of Bones, Strawman, those 6, I think those are the ones I would recommend, and the ones I would honestly highly recommend would be Songbirds, We Are Chameleons, Freakazoid, and Widow's Weeds. After that, you kind of pick and choose from there. Not necessarily the album that I wanted to hear from them after 4 years of nothing, but it wasn't truly horrible, just not up to my expectations. So that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like or hate this album and your reasons why. Share this with your friends. Subscribe to my channel, and let me know about other albums from 2019 that you would like me to review. So I'll be back Wednesday for another Are You In? Until then, this is Music Fan, and I'm signing off.